Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
If the new Chicken Big Mac at McDonald's looks like a Big Mac, has 3 buns and sauce like a Big Mac, but has 2 chicken patties, then it's not a Big Mac.
At participating McDonald's for a limited time.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. The holidays are here, and you know what that means? It's time to get your friends and family the gifts they deserve. Take the stress out of shopping with Amazon's great deals and low prices on a huge range of items from toys to tech and much more. Whoever you're gifting for, Amazon has great prices on everything you need this holiday season. Shop early holiday deals now.
Okay, everybody, we're going to start with a round of applause every time. Woo! Yay! We're doing... I love how I didn't clap. I was like, I'll just take a minute.
No, you're like, this applause is for me.
It's for me. I'm a Leo. I need attention constantly. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. This is Don't Blame Me if you're new here, but guess who's not new here? Alexis G. Zall.
It's me. I'm back.
You are back again. I almost said Shady's back. Well, you can be shady. I mean, not like, I meant Slim Shady.
I mean, who knows?
But
maybe I can be shady. We don't know.
I can be shady. I'm intentionally shady. Well, shady, I guess, is an intent.
I guess so. Do you have like, when you think of you being shady, does a specific thing come to mind that you've done like recently?
Countless things come to mind that I've done in the last like 48 hours. I'm a little shady. We're working on it. I'm doing less. Well, guys, if you're new, this is an advice podcast, and we're going to listen to your voicemails. And if you want to be on an I took my Adderall, I swear.
I saw you.
An upcoming episode. Call us. And
give me a call.
Phone number is 310-694-0976. And international listeners, you can email us an audio file to meghanpodcast@gmail.com.
Woohoo.
So, shall we get into the advice giving?
Let's get freaking into it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Hi, Megan. I'm a 21-year-old college student who recently got out of a relationship, and I'm looking for some advice. I was in a relationship from I think my junior year of high school until just about 7 months ago. So that was about almost a 4.5-year relationship. And I had only ever been with that guy. I kissed other people, but he was the first person I ever had sex with, and the first person I still have to this day only had sex with. And I've just been trying to figure out how I can get back into the dating game and feel confident, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. I always felt confident with him because he was the only person I'd ever been with, and vice versa. And so I just felt comfortable with everything, and he was like my best friend. And so everything seemed really easy. But now I'm getting to the point where I'm going on dates with strangers or with like friends I've only known for a couple weeks. And I've kissed people, I've gotten to that point. But the point of getting sexual or just like doing anything past making out with someone just doesn't freak me out, but it does. Well, I guess it does freak me out. It just makes me a little bit nervous. And so I've been trying to figure out how I can feel more confident in getting to that phase, or if there's a reason why I'm not feeling confident, maybe I shouldn't be hooking up with people at all. But, I kind of want to. I'm kind of at that phase of my life, and I kind of wanted to. But I just can't seem to do it without the idea of alcohol. And, I mean, I don't want to have to feel drunk to be as confident, but so far it's been the only time where I've gotten close. And so I'd really like your advice on some other ways I can feel confident on a date to possibly hook up with someone.
Oh my God, cute.
I no longer have advice. That was really my advice.
That is your advice every time somebody
is drink.
Yeah, just get drunk
because that's what you do.
Yeah,
I mean that will do it.
Yeah, fuck. I mean, do you have any ideas? Sorry, she's drinking.
So yeah, this is just vodka. So, okay, did you guys catch like how long ago they broke up?
I was gonna ask that too.
Because it might just be time.
Yeah.
It might just really be like easing your way in. And like, it seems like you are on like the trajectory of like, you're kissing people, you're getting out there. 7 months ago. Okay. But I have not been in had a breakup of that length of a relationship.
Yeah,
so I can't like directly relate to like the timeline for that. But I feel like it could just be like sort of easing yourself out there. And maybe you haven't met the right person yet. Or like, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Okay. So I'm going to get really just like not explicit, but like transparent in my life with this. Cause like, that's what I do, relate it back. So I understand the whole like, oh shit, I'm nervous because I've only had like sexual experience with one person. So I think like, first of all, that's a very valid feeling. Not that you should feel uncomfortable, but like it makes total sense, especially when you've been in a relationship for that long, that you're like, oh shit, a lot of people already have had like 4 or 5 sexual partners at this point, and like I've only had one. So you get to kind of feeling like, oh, I'm sort of behind. Also think about the fact that a lot of people that you will be going on dates with haven't been in a relationship that long. So like where you think they have like the upper hand or like a better grasp on like the sexual experience stuff, you've probably had sex more times.
You've probably also had better sex.
100%.
And like also I'd imagine at this point you know what you're into, like you know what you want from them. And so like I feel like maybe it's kind of like owning that strength almost, like recognizing that like you've had this experience that may not be like necessarily the same as all of your peers, but it provides value in a totally different way.
And I think it's okay to feel, I think no matter how experienced you are having sex with like a new person, like it's always going to be kind of like, oh, this is different, because having sex, every person you sleep with, it's going to be different. No matter how many people you've slept with, the first time you sleep with somebody, it's going to be a totally new and different experience. So I wouldn't treat that as being like nervous. Like I definitely have had sex with more than one person, and every time I know what a whore.
Scandalous.
I very much am. So like I would definitely be nervous, but I will also say like I definitely did like drink before, because I'd be like, oh shit, let me like not be so stressed about this. I think like, I mean, the first, like I would also get nervous before dates. Like I'd have like a shot before a date, but like the first time I went on a date with my boyfriend, who I really like didn't know if I liked or not, but I had like built up a crush for years in my head. And then I was like, we're going on a real date. Like I have to get drunk. And I got real drunk on that one. But I would also say, I think like, while having sex with like every like person is different or whatever, if you feel like, and you sound like you really want to put yourself out there and like have new sexual experiences and things like that, I think that there can be and I'm feeling like I can get a lot of shit for this. There can be a lot of pressure when you really like the person and like you've been on dates with them and like there's that build up. But if you see someone and you're like at a bar and you're really sexually attracted to that person, if you want to have sex with them, act on that aspect of it.
Go off.
And I think the idea is like, when you have, at least for me, when I have like far more romantic feelings for somebody, I get more nervous for that part of it. And I think if you want to hop into a new relationship, that's totally like, then that's fine. Then do whatever you want to do in that relationship, but don't feel like you have to like check off all of these boxes before you like start pursuing somebody. That's like, oh, we've been on this many dates, we've done all of this, unless you want to. But I think that can also be like a different way. And also I will say like sexual confidence, I am the most sexually confident I've been in relationships, because like I know what I'm doing, I know what like my partner's into, like I feel comfortable asking for what I want. And I've never felt like super confident sexually like anytime I'm like hooking up with a new person. But like you fake it till you make it kind of a thing. Don't fake your orgasms, because then you will never get any. Like get off at all. But I mean, have I said this on the podcast before? Whatever. I mean, people know. I hooked up with someone, my boyfriend and I, Monster and I started dating in like early October, and we like weren't exclusive, which I kept repeating to him over and over again. I mean, like, by the way, we're not exclusive. So if you want to hook up with other people, you can. And he was like, okay. I slept with somebody like that I had like wondered if I had feelings for, and then kind of was like, nah. And then I was like, oh shit. And I was really nervous before like Mats and I hadn't had sex. I like took almost a year-long break from dating. So I was like, fuck, I have not hooked up with someone in like a year, and I don't want that first person to be Mats because like I really like him, and I'm like, I'm really I'm rusty. Let me like hop back on the horse and like figure that out. So I think like, I don't know if that like helps at all, just knowing that I think that sexual confidence, I think a lot of it is kind of like feeling confident and asking for what you want. And like you said, you should already be on that positive like trajectory more than like people like me before who like hadn't had a ton of had more different partners, but like not the same regular one where you don't really know what you're as into. But and maybe like one shot, like don't get drunk, but just like one.
I also feel like every new person that you hook up with is gonna feel like so different. And maybe if you're like sensing like if you're like making out with someone, you're like, oh, this feels like weird, or weird isn't the right word. But if it just feels like new and different, that's like everyone's gonna feel new and different. So it doesn't mean like this isn't the right person necessarily. Like I think those are like different feelings, if that makes sense. Like I don't want to be like, go for it even if you feel weird, because that's not what I'm saying at all. But just I think like see it as like something that's gonna be different than like your ex, and like it's not gonna feel that way. And then also understand that like the more you have sex with someone, like the better it will get, which you probably know having been in like such a long relationship. So even if like you're hooking up with someone and like it wasn't quite what you thought it was going to be, like with communication and with like literally practice, it can like always get better.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it. And also in the same way that like things that are new and different, any relationship, any person that you like kiss or hook up with now, it's going to feel incredibly different because you don't have that history there. Like you don't have like
it's just gonna be so different.
Yeah, it's like you're comparing a first date to someone who you've known for more than 4 years. So that becomes like hard because it's a lot to live up to. And I think just like try and take yourself back to that like mindset and think of things as like being new and exciting. And the same way that like when you go from high school to college, it's a transition and it's super different. And you're like, oh, this is like also school, but like this is weird and different and new. And you kind of just get your footing. And maybe before you go on to like hooking up with people, even though that's like you want to like experiment all that stuff, maybe you just go on a bunch of first dates to be like, okay, let me like feel comfortable doing this, and then kiss a bunch of people and be like, okay, now I feel comfortable doing this, and then just kind of like get your
baby steps.
Get your confidence up in general when it comes to like relations with the people that you want to eventually have sex with, and then I think like from there like you'll probably have like more sexual confidence.
I think also this may like sound obvious, but hook up with people who really want to hook up with you.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like if you are finding yourself like having to like think too hard about like, oh, when should I text him, or like am I like too like coming on too strong, or like is he really into me, like you don't need to hook up with that person. Like you don't need to do that. Like hook up with people who are into you
and you're into
like,
them.
Yeah, well yeah, for sure. Definitely you should be attracted to them in whatever, whether you like them or whatever place makes you feel good. But don't go chasing people, because I feel like that's also where like a lot of confidence kind of comes in, is when you're hooking up with someone who wants to be there as much as you do, because they'll make you feel good and you'll make them feel good.
That's very spot on. That's very spot on.
And also like for me, when I've been like, it's been a while since I've been with somebody and then I'm with somebody for the first time, I'll just say like I haven't been with somebody in a while, and it takes the pressure off of the relationship. Well,
and you
sexual relations.
I'm not this kind of girl. I never do this.
Not like I would never say that.
No, I know.
But yeah.
I would pay money to have you say that. Though. I would die.
I'm just not that.
I am not this kind of girl.
There's not videos on the internet of me talking about fucking next.
Yeah, like this is so crazy, and I'm like, man, am I gonna get like the wrong idea? That's so funny. I also just can picture like every guy who like because they hear girls say like, of course, no, I don't. Yeah, of course you never do something like this. Well, I think you got this. You're good, and follow your gut. If you don't feel like if you don't feel like you're ready, and then just wait it out too.
Because there's no rush. Like you have the rest of your life, literally.
Literally. And I usually subscribe to the Sex and the City mentality, where it takes half as long as your relationship to get over somebody. Like that's kind of like what your threshold is and like what you have. So also don't feel like it's a requirement to like hop in bed with somebody else to get over somebody.
Yeah,
if that's not
good.
helping you and you like want it to. I am now learning through therapy that I don't like to like, I just like to put all my feelings in boxes and be like, you're good. Like we dealt with that. Like we recognize this happened, but like we're fine now. And addressing and like recognizing that like something makes you feel a certain way isn't like necessarily processing or dealing with your emotions. So yeah, you can't really rush the whole like getting over someone thing, but maybe you already are like over, because sometimes relationships end before they're like officially over too. Yeah, just take it day by day, dick by dick.
Yeah. Also masturbate. Get to know your body without somebody else.
Yeah.
That's
Great advice.
She's
like,
only been with one guy, so maybe figure out what you like on your own, and then
because you don't have to be like, I don't know what I like, whatever my ex-boyfriend did, because that will not help you get laid by other guys. I'll be like, cool, so do you have his number? Should I ask him what you're into?
Yeah, also, I mean, feel free to consider like all of the things that he wasn't bringing to the table, like sexually, you know, if there's like other stuff that just wasn't there, think about that.
Yeah. And like you might have some bad sex, but like that doesn't mean that like your ex had like a godly dick. Like there's just sometimes you have bad sex with people.
Yeah. And then also like that communication. Like I feel like if you're sleeping with someone for 4 years, hopefully it's like really good.
Yeah.
At that point.
I feel like it would be. You got this. Get that dick. On to the next.
Hi, Megan. I love the podcast. I think you're super wise and I need a lot of advice. So my boyfriend and I have been dating for about 5 months now, and we're really happy with our relationship. But recently I've been getting very insecure about being abandoned or dumped, and that's probably just me healing from past times that's happened to me. But my boyfriend's past relationship also triggers a lot of these insecurities because he told me his story so in depth. He met his ex at university and they were best friends, but he always had a crush on her, and she had a boyfriend at the time but started showing interest in him. She came running to him one day claiming she'd broken up with her boyfriend, and they experimented sexually, and my boyfriend had never had sex before. Then my boyfriend found out that she was still with the other guy, and for a year she went back and forth between them. Both guys knew at this point. She finally chose my boyfriend, and since they were both in the same small major, after a year, she ended up cheating on him with another guy in that major, which really hurt my boyfriend. He was very depressed. He and I met a year later, only he'd recently been trying to be friends with his ex a few months prior to us meeting when she reached out to him, but he stopped trying to be friends because he told her it was too painful. He's now come in contact with the guy his ex cheated with, and he feels like he can let that go now. I find his forgiving nature complex. I think it's good to forgive, but I'm the kind of person who cuts people off forever. So I guess I'm insecure he'll reach out to his ex, or she'll reach out again since they're in the same small landscape architecture field. And I have no reason to distrust him. He's such an open book to me, but I feel like my relationship is much less exciting and passionate, even though the sex is great and there's a lot of tenderness there, but I just can't shake that feeling like he's going to leave me soon and he's going to get bored. So I would really love to hear your wise words on this situation.
I have thoughts. So first and foremost, my then follow-up question that I can't ask you is, have you expressed this to him?
Yeah.
Because it might just be a matter of being like, okay, I know this sounds crazy, but I just like have this like weird. Also, trust your intuition. So like if your gut is saying something's off, it's probably because either something's off or you need to have a conversation that hasn't been had yet. So I feel like talking to him first and foremost and just expressing how you're feeling is like number one, because he'll either be like, you're right, or he'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe I made you feel that way. Or like, also maybe thinking about like what could he do / what could happen that would make you feel better. So is it not talking to this girl anymore? Is it, maybe like all of you hang out or something? Like what would make you feel better? Like either him telling you or like a situation. Like think about that and then have a conversation with him.
Mm-hmm. Wow, you literally sound exactly like my therapist yesterday. She was like, we just need to figure out what you need. I'm like, I don't know what I need. She's like, well, it's okay. It's a process. We're going to figure out what you need and then you're going to ask for it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. No, but I think that's like totally spot on. I think trusting your gut is really important. Let's just talk about therapy all the time. Something I've mentioned on the podcast before, which I also told my therapist, my couples therapist told me once that if it's hysterical, it's historical.
And so if you're like super upset, it's because it comes. Whoa,
and
that is so true. When I think about
life-changing?
like when I've been hysterical, it's because of like things that happened so long ago.
It's triggering. Whoa. It's something that like it just takes you back to you're feeling like the first time you feel it, it's like here, and then the second time you feel it, and then by the time it happens, that's not even like cutting super deep. It just like scrapes the surface level. You're like, no, it all comes up right now.
Yeah.
And I told her that. I was like, hey, by the way, I said that on my podcast, and she was like, isn't it great? And I was like, yeah. But yeah, so I think that there's definitely probably a component of you feeling like abandonment issues in general tend to be something that you adopt over time. That like a fear of someone like leaving you or dumping you or things like that, unless he's given you a bunch of reasons to feel that way that you haven't given us, like examples of things that have happened in your relationship. You feeling like that is definitely based on some of your own stuff that you've dealt with. But I will say, from just hearing the story that he told you, which I'm sure you're giving us a summarized version of that, like that's a lot. Like it's a lot. It's a lot to share with you, and I'm all for honesty. But to me, that's like an emotionally charged story.
Yeah.
Like this
is a girl that he had been longing for a long time. She cheated on her boyfriend with him. It was his first sexual encounter.
Which is a big feelings bath.
Yeah.
Big pool of big feelings.
Pool.
And then she went between the two of them and then chose him. Like, that's a lot.
And that would just feel horrible, especially like considering all of the feelings that go with like your first sexual interaction with someone you really like. Like that feels crazy.
Yeah. And not that I'm saying that I think it's bad that he told you, but I think if he wasn't still harboring a lot of hurt from it, I think he would have really downplayed everything to not make you feel this way, because I think that story would make me feel some type of way. Like, I think that's also
a spooky story.
Yeah. And it's something like when someone like, if Mott's described some like girl as like, oh, this was like the love of my life, I was pining after her for all this time, I'd be like, yo, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like,
I was pining after her. She chose me and then she cheated on me.
It's kind of something like, to me, that sounds like somebody who might not necessarily be over that and ready to date. He also might just be like a complete and total oversharer. And if he's an oversharer, then I think in general you should talk to him. But if he's an oversharer, I think that's when you're going to get the response of being like, oh my gosh, I didn't want you to feel like that. But he's just honest to a fault. And so he wanted to include everything. But yeah, that's very hard to take it for just what it is without like having that affect you and how you're perceiving your relationship to be going.
Well, my question also is, so it sounded like, and let me know if you guys heard differently, that he's trying to be like friendly with her.
He's being friendly with the guy he cheated, that she cheated on him with.
Why?
Got it.
Because they're all in the same major.
But no, are they still in the same major? Or now they're in landscape architect? Like
that's the major.
The
so they're in that same. So like, for example, when I went to college, I started out being a physics major, and there was only 8 people in my department. Really, and I was like, I cannot deal with these same 8 people for the next 4 years. So I switched to biology.
Okay.
So yeah, like if
and
it's
now
small,
she's here.
Yeah, there's a gap I'm missing, but
yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. I think what I would say, like, I'm also one of those people that I'm like, fuck me over, I'm done. Like, I cut you out. I'm not like, I will ghost people for much less, as we know. But
same.
I'm definitely more of like a cut people out sort of thing. I think one of the red flags that this raises is him, and this just doesn't add up to me, him reaching out to want to be friends with his ex, who he was so heartbroken by. Don't buy that. Then him deciding after he reached out that, oh, psych, I take it back. This is too hard. I'm not going to talk to her anymore. Sounds like a lie. Sounds like maybe she just stopped responding and he's kind of trying to save face and pride.
Or maybe she kind of rejected.
Yeah. And he's trying to make it sound like not to worry you and be like, oh no, yeah. And then I decided, which is supposed to be like this, oh, I'm cool with
I'm
this.
in charge.
Yeah, exactly. And like, this is a choice. So like, don't worry because like, we're good. So I think the only way you're going to be able to deal with this is just to talk to him about all of it. And I
think frame it as like, this is the way it's making me feel.
Yeah.
And ask him, like, what are your thoughts there? Like, I think open it as I don't know if gentle's the right word, but like, it's not a confrontation. It's a conversation.
Yeah. And you're not accusing him of intentionally doing anything. And that's like how I think approaching like every fight in general, because you can't like go back in time and like fix someone's actions or anything like that. And so much of the time we don't speak up about our feelings because we know that they aren't intentional. Like if someone didn't try to hurt our feelings, it's like, oh, I'm not going to say anything because like you didn't mean to hurt my feelings. But it's like, but you're not going to change. And also if you just told me that I hurt your feelings, like this isn't like a hard thing for me to not do. Like I'm not thinking that what I'm doing is like affecting you in that way. So I can easily change that.
And also it's not nice, especially when you're in a relationship with someone, but even like as friends, it's not nice to feel hurt by something or not like something someone said and then hold that in. Yeah. It's not nice to the friend or like your partner because then they have no idea. And then at some point later that can build and build and build inside you. And then it can like erupt. And for him, it's like, where is this coming from? Yeah. And so it's not really fair to like have those feelings and not express them to your partner because you'll hold a resentment and he'll feel that.
Yeah.
And then he'll be like, what did I do? And he has no way of knowing.
Yeah. I think we should always, the people you surround yourself with, like your relationships, like friends and all of that stuff, you should think highly enough of them that if they do something to hurt you, that you think so high of them that they can change that and they're like mature, capable people, that it's something that like, oh, I respect you so much that I also don't want you to end up doing this to somebody else and hurting someone's feel. Like it's that kind of action. Like you should, like somebody enough and respect someone enough to know that they can change and like adapt to the people that they're speaking to. On to the next.
Hey, Megan. I'm 26 years old and I started dating my boss. I don't consider myself gay or lesbian, but I started dating my boss, and she's a woman. We had such a great relationship, and we enjoyed each other's company. And one night we were too drunk, and things happened. But I didn't really want anyone to know because she was my boss and she was, I'm not like out. I don't know what I am. But now it's been almost a year or maybe more than a year. And I've been hearing from my friends from college that people say I got my job and the other positions I've been in because I dated my boss. And now, so I've been trying to distance myself from her a little bit, especially at the office. But I don't know, I just don't want anyone to know because my parents don't know. And I'm not, like, I don't want to have to come out as anything, and my parents won't accept me being gay or bi or anything. And I really like her, but she's older than me, and I don't know if we have a future together. I just really, really like her, and I have feelings for her, but I don't know.
Okay, so first of all, with your friends are like saying stuff, or like people from college are saying stuff, you cannot control what people think about you.
Yeah.
And the more that you try, the more frustrating it is that you can't. So I would say to that, like, that's none of your business. And if like your main concern is trying to, like, you don't want people to know something, or obviously like being out is a different thing, but if you don't want people to think like you got this job for whatever reason, I think like let that go.
Yeah.
That would be my main advice, which is way easier said than done. But yeah, it's just none of your business what people think about you. And it's not your job to keep track of it, and it's not your job to prove them wrong. Just like live your life, do you. Second of all, you don't have to come out as anything if that's not how you're feeling. Yeah, if you like don't want a label, or you identify any which way, whatever. Like do what feels right to you. And then obviously, like I don't know like your specific parent situation or like that sort of thing, but if I'm reading between the lines, I would imagine, as like someone who is gay, that a lot of like you not wanting other people to know is you don't really want it to get back to your family. Is like the main concern, because I know like before I came out to my parents, I was just like so scared that like somehow they would find out.
Telephone.
Like before I told exactly, yeah. And I know like for me, and again, like I don't know your specific parent situation or like if it's dangerous or whatever, but I know for me, like once I told my parents, I was really able to like actually live my life, and just became like way less worried about like my friends at college were like saying certain things about my job, or like if people were like whispering about stuff, like it just was not a burden that I had to carry anymore. So I mean, I'm not telling you like you have to do that, because again, don't know your sitch, but I would maybe like have a conversation with yourself where you're like, how one important is this relationship to me, and like I mean, do you like, is it maybe worth telling your parents, even though they may not necessarily react well, in order for you to not have to carry that weight on your shoulders?
No, I think that's exactly, I think you hit the nail on the head with that, because I think I don't obviously want to like say, but it sounds from my perspective, it sounds like you have a little bit of internalized homophobia, and it's becoming this like, it's just becoming this snowball secret that's getting bigger. And even when you said like, I don't know how long it's going to last with this woman, like, is part of you saying that because you're like, well, no, I always pictured myself with a guy, so like I don't know how long it's gonna last because like she's a girl, and you don't have to label yourself as anything or identify as anything, because I mean, labels can either be very empowering for the people who like want to wear them, or they're just to explain to other fucking people who like doesn't fucking matter to them. Like, you know what I mean? Like people use labels for a lot of different reasons, but like you don't need to identify as anything to then. That doesn't, but you not wanting to identify as anything doesn't mean that like this relationship is like not important.
Right.
Exactly.
It's like together a year, over a year.
That's a big
that's
relationship.
A long time.
That's a long time. And I mean, I would just say like, really, really remind yourself like you are allowed to be in love. Like that is exciting. Like that is so fun. Like obviously you get along really well. You've been together for like a year or maybe longer. There's more there than just like a fun workplace, like sort of like, ooh, we're so crazy. Obviously there's like a lot there. And I would just hate for other people, or like your idea of how other people will react, like keep you from experiencing like a full beautiful love with someone you care about.
Yeah. And if we go purely opinion based, and like you said, not knowing the situation, if it's like dangerous, let's say it's not dangerous, and let's talk about opinion based. If people have these negative opinions about something that like is not in your control, like this is just like how you feel. If someone has opinions on your feelings, those people suck. And those people aren't your friends. Those people aren't like the kind of people that you want in your life, because it's like, it's that kind of love. It's a conditional love. And that's not the only kind of love that's out there. And it sucks when sometimes it's people that you really love and you care about, and your love for them is unconditional. And then the love you receive is conditional. And as long as you're doing certain things, they still like completely support you and love you. But there are other things that are out of your control and regard your feelings and contribute to your happiness that they're not okay with. That can be a really, really, really hard pill to swallow. And again, like not saying like, come out and cut all these people out of your life, like don't support you. But I think it would be really important for you right now to have somebody that you can confide in and have people who do support you and are there for you, because you're keeping all of this stuff in. Like, can't talk about it at work. You can't talk about your relationship. Like, it's your boss who's older than you. So you probably don't want to like complain about how like you really can't open up to your friends. Like you can't talk to your family about this. Like you have to talk to somebody. And like, that's how we process and deal with emotions and feelings and all of that stuff. But like, if you are feeling like you can't talk about anything without people having judgments, not talking about it doesn't make you think that those judgments are going away.
No. And like, it is just completely not up to you to carry the weight of other people's homophobia.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, it's not your job, just as much as like it's not you can't not control like what other people think and feel about you. And so like the less you worry about that, like the better. Yeah. And yeah, I would really try and have like an honest conversation with yourself about where that's coming from and like why you don't want people to know. And I would guess it probably circles back to like the parents and like not wanting your family unit to know. But is it also because you have an idea of like lesbians or queer people that is outdated or that is negative? You know, were you raised to believe that sort of lifestyle is like not good? Yeah. And I would also, just as like a hot tip, love to give you the word queer, which is like a fun little umbrella term. All encompassing, whether you're like 1% queer, 99% queer, like maybe that's your word. If you don't feel good with that word, you don't have to use it. It's a fun word. It's kind of cute. Yeah, some extra little language, some vocab that may not have been in your arsenal that you may identify with. Yeah. There's a nice little word for you.
Yeah. I think I would also say when in regards to the job aspect, there might be a part of you that feels like you did get this job because of dating her. And I think any relationship, straight relationship, queer relationship in the workplace involving a boss is a bad idea. Like point blank, I think it's a really fucking bad idea. But you're already here and you've done that. And I think, while I wouldn't advise you to do that, and I think it's a bad idea, I think what you can, and you can't control those people's opinions. Those opinions, people might have those. I mean, I think people would have those opinions if it was a man and you were a woman and you were dating your boss. I think that's just an opinion people have in general. I think you might, again, I'll tell you how you feel. I think the homophobia aspect or queer phobia aspect, I think that might be making this a lot more personal than it, because I don't want to say that you have something to lose, but like there's a fear there. It's not just like, oh, fuck you all haters and all of that sort of stuff. Like there's like a fear, like, oh shit, like this can't get out sort of thing. So I think apply for another job somewhere else. And you'll be able to tell if you'll be able to know then if your relationship with your former boss, this woman, is something that isn't just convenience based, and it is something, and I think you've been dating for a year, like definitely like should be. And then also, yes, you don't have to like carry the weight of other people's like homophobia and all of those different things, but also like that cannot be an enjoyable work environment for you in general. Like there's no way, at least for me, I would constantly be like, did I get this job because of this? Is this why I got this job? And then if you hear those whispers, that gets into your head. And I think like for your own self-confidence, proving to yourself that like you are a worthy employee and all of that stuff, apply for a job somewhere else and get that separation. Because I think also, then I think you might be able to do a little more introspection and figure out yourself a little bit more, because you're not going to be in this, like, not that I'm saying you're like hiding in the closet, but like you are just like, you're hiding within hiding. And you have to hide
much for anyone.
Too much shit. Like it's too hard to keep up with.
And it's
like
not fair for you. That's no fun.
And also like you're at work. Like that work already like is hard and kind of sucks. And like this is not something that people deal with out in the workplace on an everyday basis. And it's not just like, well, this is like one of the given things that happens when you get a job. You're going to be worried because you're dating your boss and like everybody's going to be whispering about you. Like that's not par for the course. So I think if you can eliminate those aspects of like eliminate the aspect of dating your boss by like applying for a job somewhere else and working somewhere else. And then you're also limiting those kinds of like whispers and things like that. I think you'll be able to, grow a lot more too, because again, dating your boss you're really mixing your work life and your home life. So I think it's confining, you don't have a lot of space to be independent and grow. And I think that's like an important thing.
Yeah. And I would say pretty much everything you said probably puts a huge strain on your relationship.
100%.
And so, yeah, like the more you can kind of separate those things, and also the more you work through kind of where your like internalized homophobia is coming from, the better that'll be for your relationship. And then also once you get kind of like that baggage out of the way, you can actually evaluate like, are we good partners?
Exactly.
I feel like you can't even really do that when there's so much like shrouding your idea of this relationship.
Yeah. And also think about it. If you eventually do like continue dating this woman and you want to tell people, then you only have to tell her, hey, this is my girlfriend, not my girlfriend and my boss.
Right. Yeah.
Like it just makes it a little bit smaller.
Yeah. It feels like there's too much.
Too much writing on everything.
Too much. Yeah. Too much. So
do less. Do less. Okay, guys, it's time for a quick break and we'll be back. Okay, guys, we are back from the break. There is spit on my lip from something. No, me. Gross.
I was going to say, I hope it's your own.
It's my spit that's just on the mic.
You made out with someone here while we were all blinking.
I deep throated the mic. So let's get back into the rest of the calls.
Woohoo.
Hi, Megan, Melissa, and guests. I'm 25 years old, and I'm engaged to a wonderful human being, and we're as much opposites attract as you can possibly get. He was raised like really Catholic, and he waited to have sex till he was like 25, and he's only had sex with one other person besides me. And I, on the other hand, had like really fucked up self-esteem as in my college years, and sought a lot of validation through sex and like was sexually assaulted. And so I had a really, really like fucked up relationship with sex for a really long time. And I put in a lot of work to make that better. Before I met him, I spent a lot of time celibate, and it took me a long time just to get to like neutral ground with sex where I didn't think it was a bad thing anymore. And he's really the first person I've ever had a healthy sexual relationship with. And like with him, it's gone from like a bad thing in my brain to neutral. And then with him, it's a positive thing. And now we're engaged and we're doing the whole Catholic marriage thing. And now he's like, well, I don't want to have sex until we're married. And my emotional reaction is immediately like panic and anxiety. And I can't say no. Like, I can't say like, oh, you don't want to have sex too bad. Like, that's weird and rapey. But at the same time, it's like, well, what about me and what I want? In like a really backwards way, it feels like someone making a decision about my body without my permission. And I'm really having a hard time with it. I really want to support him in this because he felt like really disconnected, like spiritually. And this is part of him trying to like find that again, which that's something I value too. And I really want that for him. But at the same time, like, I just got to such a place with like where sex is positive for me again. And I'm so afraid if we go an 18-month engagement, which I would not have made our engagement that long had I known this. But I'm afraid of going that amount of time is going to like make me backslide emotionally. And I just have a lot of fear related to it. So like, how can I support him while also like not losing my mind?
Wow.
I think the first thing I will say is, and I say this because I definitely relate to this, I don't want to say you're not over your fear of sex as validation, but that's what your fear is. Is not that you're going to slip back. It's
you nailed it.
That you have a comfortable relationship with him and a healthy sex life because you feel valid, like, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I'm 100% that way. Like if we go, like if literally like the week that I'm like bleeding, I'm like, oh my God, you don't I definitely get a lot of validation in my own relationship from sex, but that's also because like I enjoy it. Like I feel sexy. Mm-hmm. I feel confident and good about myself. It's not about like even necessarily how I'm like feeling like, oh wow, you look great or whatever. Like it's not so much about that. Like it's something that makes me feel confident. Yeah. And I think like you talking about your history of like you didn't feel confident and you were seeking that out in all those people. I think 100% that can be a very unhealthy thing. But when you're in a relationship, like that is the difference between a relationship and a friendship, is like that aspect of it. And I think that you're you keep using the word like fear, you're terrified of it. I think that is because you do maintain this validation with him, a healthy validation.
Yeah, there's nothing like wrong with
no,
that.
Nothing at all, because like it's not like you keep doing it and you're not feeling good from like this is working. Like it's working, and I think that's what you're really afraid of.
Like you're obviously like into it.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Did he ask you? That's my other question. Like, did he say like, can we have a conversation about this? Or is this?
I'm guessing what they probably did was they probably were in counseling for marriage counseling, which is what they would be doing before they get married at church. And they
with the priest.
Yes. And so they probably talked about it in this counseling. And now he does
like,
and he's like,
you know what might be worth bringing up kind of with that in mind is just, well, one, I mean, I'm always pro, like, talk to him about it. Yeah. You guys are partners, like, you're in this together, like, and you said it so eloquently, like, no part of at least what you left in, like, your voicemail is disrespectful or you said it perfectly. I mean, I respect your wishes, but it's making me feel like this. So I'd say bring it up, and then it might be worth having a conversation of, like, is this really something you feel like you need to do, like, for God or for your spirituality, or is this a pressure from the church? Yeah. Or is it like a pressure from your family, or like feeling like this is what you're supposed to do as like a good Catholic person?
Right.
Like maybe identifying kind of where that comes from within him. And that might just also help like you getting on board or at least like sorting through kind of how you feel about it. Is like making sure you understand like where it's coming from with him. Yeah, and maybe there's because I fully agree that there needs to be like a very open, transparent conversation. And I will also say like if you want to get like real fucking religious, isn't like masturbation also not a thing? So like
it depends.
So that's
on how you interpret.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing. It's like, so if the interpretation here, if the interpretation is you're not going to have sex, let's break it down. Are we talking penetrative sex? Are we talking like, are neither of us going to masturbate? Like, can we like mutually masturbate? Like, is there a way that like, not like that you feel like you have to give up something, but like even if you want to like not take about the religious aspect, like the idea, like people who like, I know people who like have like abstained from sex for like, a couple weeks before their wedding, or like like to build up that anticipation. Like, is there maybe like, as opposed to 18 months, like maybe you guys like, maybe like, how about we do like the last 6 months, or how about we even like just like talk, not like talking it down, but coming up with like, the practicality of it. Because also like if you guys are having sex regularly and he's like, you know, like a dude with a dick, like, you know,
I guarantee he's masturbating.
Yeah, that's the part that I'm like, well, then how is that like? Is it something like the pleasure that we both get, that's what you're going to say no to, but the individual pleasure is okay?
Break it down. Like, what is the root of why you think this is the right thing to do?
Yeah. And also, if it's just what you're interpreting from the church, then you need to discuss it being like, okay, well, I feel like they also wouldn't be down with this. They wouldn't be down with this. Or, hey, how about we abstain from like having penetrative sex, but we do other stuff together and we don't do it on Sunday.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It seems like he's fasting. Like there's like food fasting where people won't eat and they'll use that time to like pray and become closer to God. So he's sex fasting. And
so the time that he'd be having sex, he's praying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I totally hear
allegedly.
I hear what you're saying in that, you obviously can't be like, well, tough, we are having sex. Like that's
not fun for you to be like, he's like, I don't want to do this.
But I definitely think it's worth expressing like the way that it makes you feel, and maybe he's not really thinking about the way it could affect your relationship. And I mean, I don't want to say he's not thinking about you, because obviously anyone's allowed to say no to sex at any time. But I mean, it's definitely worth just having the conversation of expressing exactly what you said to us.
Yeah.
Like how it makes you feel and how you just kind of want to like figure it out.
No offense, like that's like 18 months of resentment. Does not a happy marriage make. Like that's not a fun engagement.
And also like just having conversation and get on board and make it, whether or not you end up following through with it or whatever, it should all be something you're doing together.
Yeah.
And so if you're not on board like emotionally, then you need to either find a way to get on board, or he needs to adjust, or there's at least like definitely conversations that need to be had if you're not feeling that.
Yeah. And it can be like, and like express to him that it's not like just being with him physically, it's being with him on an emotional level. And also like maybe you guys can set aside a time where it's not you guys like going to marriage counsel, where you're just like maybe at home and you're reading the Bible or praying.
Doing something faith oriented.
Yeah, and so you can still have the physical connection, but then also have that spiritual.
Yeah,
with the spirituality with whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I think that's what it should be. I think you need to like if the goal in that is to be more connected spiritually, I think like explore other options to achieve that you can both be on board with, because also like I do wonder if this is again just like the first thing that he's like, oh yeah, this could be a thing that we do, and it's like, well, okay, let's think it through. I bet there's a lot of other things we can do that we can still have sex.
Feels like something he's doing to you. When that's not his goal either. Like I'm sure if you expressed the way that you're feeling, he would be like, oh no, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah. And then also even if it's getting on, and I would also talk to him about the like valid like feeling like connected to him like emotionally and physically, but then also that it really makes you feel really secure in your relationship, and like talk about that aspect of it, because like I've definitely had those conversations with like people that I've been with where I'm like, this is something like for me that like really like makes me like, sure, yes, like sexually like feel good, but like this is something like this also really like I like feel great after, and like I feel like this is like I'm in my element here, like this is like that kind of thing, and like talk to him about that aspect of it too, because I think there is like this like idea that women don't enjoy sex as much as men and all of that
he might just be oblivious.
He might think that this might not be like a deal to you, and also again like having that conversation with him, you might also then end up getting on board, because I don't want to say like this whole thing should be getting him off that train at all. I also can say that because like I'm not like religious, so I can be like, wow, that's like that, but that aspect of it. But you don't want someone. This needs to be where you guys, both of you, are happy with the choices that you're making. And if someone's choice is like hurting the other person,
that's no good.
No, not at all. And I think also, even if it means that like you abstain from sex, but like you find other ways that you feel really secure and validated, and like then you supplement. So it's like you can masturbate and like you find a way to supplement these things that sex gives you, and you can continue to abstain from it. But like, if it's sexual pleasure for you, like you're masturbating, maybe you guys are mutually masturbating, doing all of that stuff, and then you find a way to what other things bring you that same sort of validation and confidence in your relationship.
Like, is it the quality time? Is it the just feeling like he really likes you? Is it like feeling connected? Maybe like identify sort of what you feel like, aside from just like pleasure, like what you feel like you would be missing without it. And then, you know, if you end up like getting on board, finding ways to do that together, like maybe it's just the quality time, maybe you like cook dinner together once a week, or
butt naked and just have me like, you look hot, and you're like, thank you so much, and you feel great.
Like maybe there's like something else that can like fulfill that desire.
Yeah. Also, don't cook naked. That's going to get really
it
bad.
hurts.
Dangerous.
Yeah. Mox was cooking in his boxers once, spilled bacon grease all over his stomach, and then wouldn't let me tend to the wound because he was like a big, strong man, got infected, had to go to urgent care, has a massive scar. It's so fucking funny. I also singed off like his hair on his stomach. Just
So
like,
he has a patch of like no hair?
No, there's hair now, but like
okay.
when it happened,
Yeah.
it was really funny. He's like a pretty hairy dude, so it's good. On to the next.
So I'm 24 and I've been with my boyfriend for over 4 years. And lately I've been really intrigued by the idea of an open relationship. I've been doing my own research. I'm actually reading a book right now that Gabby Dunn had suggested in a previous episode. I think my feelings about this are partly due to recently, within the past 2 years, realizing that I'm bisexual, which I've told my boyfriend. But I never really got a chance to explore that at all because I've only ever had any romantic interaction with men. But otherwise, I'm extremely happy in my relationship. I love my boyfriend so much. And I feel like this could be a really exciting thing for us to do together and like potentially help us like grow as individuals and like be like closer as a couple. But I'm really nervous about bringing this up to him because I think it kind of seems like something that is unlike me. And also just because once I say it, it's there. It's not like we can just go back to normal if he says no. So I was wondering if you guys had any advice on how to like carefully ease into this topic or ways that I could like hint at it and feel out his opinions rather than just spring it on him and punch a giant hole in my relationship.
Okay, I have lots of thoughts.
Okay, take it away.
So one, if honesty can ruin a relationship, that's not a strong relationship. So like if you expressing something that you feel is like gonna be a deal breaker, then that's no good. Second of all, we have all been raised to believe that monogamy is how you know that somebody likes you. So like if you're dating someone and they think someone else is attractive, we've just been like really super conditioned to think that that means they don't like you. And so sometimes being like, I want to be non-monogamous or I want to be open feels like rejection. So I think that the way you can kind of go in is just really making sure that like when you express that to him, it doesn't feel like, oh, you're not enough for me or like, I don't like you anymore. It just feels like a totally like separate thing that ultimately like you can do together and like might be a fun thing for you to do as a couple. But I think just being really, really aware that like that can feel like rejection. And just making sure that that's not what you are saying and just being really careful with like that word choice.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. I think the idea that like you can't go back from it and it punches like a massive hole in your relationship, I think you need to decide if it's a deal breaker for you. And if you don't want to be in a monogamous relationship anymore, no matter how much he likes you and really cares about you, that's not what he signed up for. And if he doesn't want to do that, then that's his choice and that's allowed. And you're also allowed to like that. Like, I don't want to say like, oh, he might be done. Like, there's a chance that like, yeah, he could be like a great guy. And he's like, you know what? I want what's best for you. I want you to do what you want. But like, that's not something that I'm on board with. And if it's a deal breaker for you and it's something that you really need, then you need to be ready to ask for it and be ready to know that if he's not into it, then this might not be the relationship for you. Mm-hmm. But then also figure out, is it not a deal breaker for you? Is it something that you really just want to bring up and like see, and then let him know? It's like, and hey, if like you're not down and like you're not into this, like that's totally okay. You just need to figure out what you want in the situation, because like when you say it's gonna like punch a massive hole in your relationship and things like that, like, and that it's something that's like so not something that you would normally say, I think like, I mean, if my boyfriend brought it up to me, it would definitely like rattle me and I wouldn't be into that. But also I wouldn't be like, I'm done with you. Like it'd be a conversation. So
it's
I think,
like, ooh, I'm not attracted to you anymore and I hate you.
I think
like,
you need to break down like there isn't like this idea that like, oh, if I say it, like everything's going to change for the rest of forever. It's like, I know you're going to ask for it and like they're going to say yes or no. And then from there, you also have to decide like, okay, well, how important is this to me? And also if this is something like that you're a little nervous to like broach the subject with him in general, I'm a huge fan of leaving books with like intriguing titles just out and about in mutual spaces.
The Ethical Slut. You
He's
should
gonna
both read
fucking
it.
pick it up and be like, let me see any of this stuff. So yeah, I think it's just about how you approach it in a way that is exactly like you said. And I'm sure like, I don't want to say like find other resources like Google, but like I'm sure there are like lots of other pieces of like lots of other books that you can read that talk about this. And then also just know that like as much as like as exactly like you're saying that this doesn't mean that he this doesn't mean that you don't care about him anymore. Know also that if he says no, that doesn't mean that he doesn't care about you either. Like everybody has what they want in a relationship. It's not our job to change anyone or get them to be on the same page as us. And like love again, like love and like how you care about somebody, all that stuff, that doesn't necessarily make a happy relationship or a compatible relationship. So it's about knowing your deal breakers and respecting his deal breakers as well. And also the idea that like if this is a huge thing for you that you really, really, really want, but you know that he's going to like be like no and it would be a deal breaker for him, it's that feeling that you have isn't going to go away. Like if you're like you need to act on how you feel. And if you're constantly afraid of like saying something that's being true to who you are or asking for what you want, if you're afraid of if asking for what you want is going to like you're going to lose somebody by doing that, it's going to happen regardless. Yeah. Like that person is not for right. You. Yeah, they're not right for you. And it doesn't discredit the relationship that you've had and all of that stuff.
I also think there's a huge misconception with open relationships that there's like no rules when really, and like The Ethical Slut, again, great book, touches on this a lot where like there are way more rules and like an open relationship can kind of look like anything. So it can be like maybe you'd have like threesomes, like maybe that's your thing and it's a thing that you like have to do together and it's something like you have to talk about before like bringing anyone in. Or maybe it's like you can kiss whoever you want, but you can't like have sex with someone without like asking him. Like there's 1,000 shades of gray in there, and you can have the conversation of like, what does our relationship look like, and like what will the future of that sort of be. And it's not necessarily like, no, I can fuck whoever I want and like date a bunch of people and like it's not like you're all of a sudden single either. It's like a completely different thing. And honestly, I feel like those conversations can like bring couples way closer together, even
which is what she's wanting.
Yeah, exactly. Like that is also fun, you know. If that's something that like has intrigued him in the past. Or also like education is so big, because I think also we're just taught that monogamy is like right and like that's the thing to do. And so his immediate reaction, if he's never thought about it, might just be like, well, that's wrong, or like that's negative, like you're slutty. Not, and he shouldn't say stuff like that, but you might even internalize like feel like, oh, am I asking for too much, or like maybe this is wrong, or I shouldn't want this. When ultimately like it's just everyone is different, and I think everyone has a different like spectrum of like how monogamous they feel.
Yeah, and I think maybe if it's avoiding the, like you're saying, maybe it's avoiding the term open relationship because it is such a huge umbrella. Yeah, exactly. And like saying like I just think it'd be like really hot if like you hooked up, like if you like made out with a girl and like I got to like, if we had a threesome, like, and you bring up tangible things that are about like, I think this would be really hot and I would be really into this. Like, tell me what, like, are you into this? But if you're like, I would want to have an open relationship, that feels like rejection. But whatever it is that you want to add to your relationship, talking about that in a way that like that would make me feel like if you would enjoy watching him with somebody else, or if you think that it'd be really hot to have him watch you with some, like that aspect of it. And I would also try if a part of what you are attracted to in this is something that involves him physically, I would start with that to make sure the conversation's inclusive. It's not, I really would like want to hook up with a girl. Like even if that's like one of the things that there's nothing wrong with like you wanting to like, be with a woman and have him be nowhere in sight. Maybe start with ones where like he's involved too, and he's not just Ross in the threesome making a sandwich in the kitchen. Like,
or she's like on a dating app, and he's helping her pick girls.
I think
or
like you go out
fun.
to a bar together and you like look at girls, like, and you flirt with people and like see how you feel. Like that is fun.
Yeah, and also if you're like. If this isn't a deal breaker for you and like you don't want to make this like a sit down conversation because you don't want to give it that weight because it isn't, it's something that's like fun and exciting, but it's not something that you necessarily need in a relationship, then maybe just like, instead of having like a sit down conversation, just kind of like test the waters, be out at a bar and be like, wow, that girl's so pretty.
Yeah.
And engage his reaction then. So you also don't have to like immediately sit down with this very heavy conversation if you don't feel like it deserves that kind of weight because it's not that weighty to you.
Yeah. And he might also feel like, oh, as a good boyfriend, like I can't express when I think a girl is hot, or like I'm not allowed to express like I want this sexual thing with another girl, or like he may have similar feelings, and it may also take like on his part, if he's, at all receptive, like some unlearning. And same with you. Like, I think we're so taught that relationships look like one thing. And I think being open, or like whatever word you choose to use, just like unleashes like the rules, it doesn't have to look like other people's relationships. You can just like do completely your own thing as long as you're both on board with the same idea.
Yeah.
So I think broaching it as something you're doing together.
Yes. And I think the last thing that I'll say on this is be really, really, really like attentive to his verbal and nonverbal reactions. And if he says what you want to hear, but you don't believe it, pretend he didn't say that. Pretend he said no. Because I think I've had friends who have been like asked like, hey, let's like, and they were like, yeah, 100%. And I was like, oh, so not fucking you. You don't. And like, it can, if you see that he's just going along because he's afraid, again, like it's the reassuring that like, if you say no, this is not going to change anything. You're not going to lose me, all of that.
Like you're the most important thing to me.
So making sure that like you aren't just like taking the answer that you want and getting that. It's really paying attention to him and seeing, is this something he's comfortable with? And the whole way through, if it's something that's like, okay, sure, yeah, I'm on board. It is, like you said, it's about your relationship and making a relationship stronger. And if there are things that you can sense he's even a little bit uncomfortable or anything like that, even if he's not saying it because he wants to be cool with it and he wants to be chill and like he wants you to be happy and this means you being happy, so he's going to sacrifice some of his comfortability, really be hyper aware of that. On to the next, or is it time for Don't Blame Them? This is our segment where listeners call in and they give their own personal advice based on their experience. So, if we've had someone who's broached the subject of an open relationship with their significant other, they would be calling in with their own 2 cents. Is it about threesomes?
No. This one
we get a lot about threesomes.
We do. But this one is from the episode 17, season 3, episode 17 with Arden Rose, and the original and the original caller, she had to get a new therapist because her therapist has cancer, and so this someone calling who's actually a therapist with advice.
I have a couple of therapists who follow me, and when they give me words of encouragement, being like, you're doing amazing, I'm like, I believe you because you're a therapist. Thank you.
I mean, like, there's a therapist listening to this show, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Hope we don't make her mad.
Yeah.
Hi, Megan. I'm calling in response to one of the callers from the episode with Arden Rose. The caller who was having a problem with adjusting to their new therapist after having to switch from one that they saw for a long time. I just wanted to call in because I'm a therapist myself, and I thought it might be helpful to have this perspective for her. I would say that all good therapists welcome feedback from their clients. I think that if your therapist is doing something that's not really working for you, then you are completely within your right to let your therapist know that that is a problem for you. And any good therapist is going to respond really well to that and be very encouraging about negotiating what the therapy dynamic is like between the two of you. And if you bring it up to your therapist and your therapist doesn't respond well to it, you should absolutely find a new therapist, because I think that's a good cue that you're just not working well together, and you'll be better suited somewhere else. But I know that confrontation is very scary, especially for clients. But I have personally had clients let me know that something I was doing wasn't working for them, and I have really appreciated it every time that I got that feedback, because I was able to readjust what I was doing and provide better therapy for them. And that's really what everybody wants at the end of the day. So, yeah, I really encourage that person to speak to their therapist about it if they feel comfortable. They definitely have that option and should use it if they can.
Oh my God. Wow, I can't believe a therapist. This is like a celebrity. This feels like a celebrity listens. Like a therapist listens to us and she loves the podcast. Wow, that makes me really happy. Yeah, I think it's a great thing. I mean, I'm definitely terrified of like confrontation in that aspect.
It's scary, but every time you do it, it gets easier the next time. Like, rest assured, the first time will be so scary, and then you'll be such a pro.
Yeah, no, Mott's apparently told off his. He told me yesterday, he's like, yeah, I told off my therapist this week. He's just like not booking up. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like, I would have never thought to do that. And he was like, and I was like, so are you like, did you fire him? He's like, no, I mean, we're gonna see like if he can improve from here. And I was like, oh, that's a very rational way to think about it. Like, I'm like, no, I can't say anything.
Also, I feel like men are just more taught that they can do that. It's just harder for women to express themselves or to speak up or to say, I don't like this. You know,
because they're
you're
afraid of hurting people's feelings.
Yeah, exactly. And like you're raised to sort of please. And do it. It gets easier every time.
And that should go for anything in any type of service environment, whether it's like getting a haircut to going to the doctor. We should always be speaking up if there's something that makes us uncomfortable or we aren't sure that it's helping us in the best possible way.
And also, I am always so grateful when somebody says to me, hey, I didn't like that. Or like, can you please do it like that? 9 times out of 10, people have no idea unless you tell them, because everyone's different. Everyone's coming to something with a completely different like background and a completely different set of skills. And if you don't express that you don't like something, they will not know.
Yeah. And no one's goal, especially in therapy, or no one's goal should be to upset anyone. And so like the idea that like they're doing something that could be unintentionally hurting you, like they really don't want to do that. And so saying, like, being able to say that, it's like great, and also helps them. Industry professionals in general, like it's their job. They should be good at their job. And the more feedback that they have, the better they can be, to whether it applies to just you or other clients in general. Like, it's, again, hold people to a high standard, and the people that you surround yourself with in your life, and also professionals in general, like they should be held to a standard of in which they can change and adapt and become better and grow better. And just being like, well, I'm just gonna take this for what it is. That doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help you, and it doesn't help them.
No, it's literally like what we were saying earlier. If asking for what you want is gonna ruin the relationship, then you need a different relationship.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a good one. I mean, therapy's hard. It's also hard to find a therapist that you like and all of that stuff. I can't believe a therapist watches or listens, whichever way you're doing it. Hi, love therapy, big fan. It's expensive, but it's cool. I don't get my nails done anymore, so priorities, saving money. Well, that's it for the episode. Oh my God,
thanks for having me.
Plug yo shit.
Okay, great. Check out all of my stuff. It's all at Alexis G. Zall. I make YouTube videos, and I do a lot of like woke feminist sketch comedy. That's kind of my thing. And I make a lot of videos with a guest that you had recently. It sounds like Gabby Dunn.
A great one.
A great one. So wise. She's taught me everything I know. Check out my Instagram and my Twitter.
Yeah, you're very funny on Twitter.
Thank you so much.
And so few characters. So funny. So much comedy in such a small little space.
Thank you.
I enjoy your tweets. And you get a lot of I sometimes don't see your tweets from you. I see them from other people who've retweeted them.
My God. Whoa, that is a big honor.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh wow. I'm like, oh, look at what you tweeted. I'm like, oh, this is a retweet. But
wow. So go be one of those retweeters.
Yeah, go do it. And if you guys are listening to this episode, we also filmed it for YouTube, so you can check it out. And if you're watching, check us out on the listening devices with your ears.
That's how you listen.
Yeah, check it out. We're also on Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify. We also have an Instagram account, Don't Blam Meme Pod. So follow us there. Check it. We have our own Instagrams, all of our socials. Everything will be listed down below. And then if you want to be in an upcoming episode, if you need some help with advice, I can't help you with a lot of other stuff like math, no, calculus, science. No, you can help with science.
I can.
Don't
I
send
haven't
us
biology. I haven't
and
done
physics.
anything in like 10
it's
years.
changed. Did you not hear science has changed?
Yeah, so
It's
it might be a
new
little
stuff.
sketchy, but
Yeah,
if it's
evolution,
like historical science, I can help.
So Newton's law, she's got.
Yeah, I got those.
So you guys can actually don't send a science question, but you can if you need advice. Call us and leave us a voicemail at 310-694-0976. And international listeners, you can email us an audio file at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. Don't Blame Me is a production by me. Executive produced by Melissa DeMonts. Camera operator Amanda Lechner. Production assistance by Julie Carley. And music by Ryan Hunter and Giacomo Picasso, part of the HerPod Network.
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all. I'm JJ.
Hey, guys. It's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests to share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a co-founder of the Go Kid Go Network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. During her journey, Isla meets new friends, including King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table, and learns valuable life lessons with every quest, sword fight, and dragon ride. Positive and uplifting stories remind us all about the importance of kindness, friendship, honesty, and positivity. Join me and an all-star cast of actors including Liam Neeson, Emily Blunt, Kristen Bell, Chris Hemsworth, among many others, in welcoming the Search for the Silver Lining podcast to the Go Kid Go Network by listening today. Look for the Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Listening to a podcast should be time well spent, and I promise it will be if you'll give this podcast a try. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in every episode, I talk with leading experts on topics I know you will find fascinating. From why people can't keep secrets, what your favorite music says about you, why your pet acts in strange ways, and so much more. Something You Should Know is designed to give you information you can use in your life and give you great intel that you can share with others. I'm told it's a binge-worthy podcast. And with over 1,000 episodes, there's a lot to binge on. Something You Should Know has been ranked in the top of the Apple Podcast charts consistently for a long time. I know you're going to like this. I just need to get you to try it. Something You Should Know. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts.